Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here, joined by my friend Bob Stewart. And before I bring Bob on, I want to remind all of you that in season 3, Win, Make, Give is all about making a difference, making an impact, and helping you make more money. And one of the ways we do that each and every day, whether we're putting out an episode or not, is we're sharing other episodes of other podcasts that fall under the Win, Make, Give umbrella. So if we want to make an impact in your health, happiness, and energy level, check out the 15-Point Plan podcast where we're talking about those topics. Maybe we want to be able to make a difference in your real estate business. If you're a realtor listening, check out the Built How podcast. And then we just want to make a difference in your heart and in your life. And that's where our friend Clint Swindoll comes in with Tell Me Something Good, where he is sharing with you some amazing lessons and some great news to enlighten your soul each and every day. Yet here on the parent podcast of Win, Make, Give, Bob and I often get the opportunity to speak and hope we are making a difference, making an impact, and then we'll bring Ben along to help you make more money. Bob, what do you think about all of that we're offering here at Win, Make, Give?
I probably need to tap into some of it more often than I do myself, right? So, we got some awesome people out there sharing. You and Jolene do an amazing job on 15-Point Plan. There's the presenters on Built How are varied and all across the industry and all lots of different ways that people have built amazing real estate businesses. And then Clint's just one of those guys. It's really hard to walk away from listening to Clint without having a big smile on your face and that, a little bit of extra giddy up in your step. So it's an honor to get to share a platform with those folks for sure.
Well, Bob, it's an honor to get to share with you. We actually got a message the other day just telling us how much of an impact some of these episodes are making in the lives of people. And we don't want to stop there. So, Bob, let's get into today's topic for everybody.
Can I normally you'd be like, hey, how's it going? And you'd ask me, and I have this whole thing in my head.
Oh, you're ready with something. Okay.
Yeah, it was going really well until you sent me a picture of your Blizzard just a little bit ago. Like you taunted me with a Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie Blizzard. And, so your communication skills today have been on point. I'm sure that you scheduled probably that little trip. I think you went with your wife to grab some DQ for lunch. So I'm sure you scheduled that.
Absolutely.
You're working with a lot of the soft skills that we know are important in today's job market, Chad. And so maybe as a segue, let's talk about some of these things. What's our agenda today?
Yeah, that's a great one, Bob. And I will tell you, I have Dairy Queen once a year for all the audience people out there that are going, what? Chad ate that? Look, I'll eat Ben and Jerry's for dinner happily. I'll go get my pint. We've had this argument on flavors in the past. I will usually run or cycle and definitely earn that night. Yet today, Bob, and again, some of these episodes don't get dropped exactly when we record them. Today was in honor of Ben's birthday. Ben and I have a long history of Dairy Queen from when I lived in his basement. Ben's a big fan. I offered to take Ben for Dairy Queen for his birthday, and he had other plans today. His schedule missed it. I wasn't going to miss my honorary Ben Kinney Dairy Queen Blizzard Day.
You taunted all of us. Ben just responded in our whole text thread here. Wow. And I think that's wow. I can't believe you went and had my birthday Blizzard without me. But as is the case when he jetted out of town. So that's what he gets.
That's right. His loss, my Blizzard. All right, Bob, you're right. What's our agenda today? You were setting it up nicely. Bob, we did the Wealth Series, and we are actually in the middle of recording Wealth Series 2.0. So let me promo that. Folks, if you want more money, if you want to understand money, if you want to make more money, if you want to get a handle on your money, but I mean, anything about money other than just give you, well, we are going to give you money. So I can't say you just show up and we'll give you money. We are going to give away.
Actually do that. Yeah.
Okay? Go to winmakegive.com/wealth so you can get registered for the course and you won't miss a single episode and the homework that's going to come with them. Bob, one of the topics in there is increase your income.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things we talk about. Ben talks about it. Some people, that side hustle, or maybe you're just, maybe you're younger and you're looking for your first job, or maybe it's time to change your opportunity. And you and I do a lot of reading. It's a skill that we both have and we enjoy doing it. And I came across this article the other day that just screamed things we needed to share. And Bob, you already put the term out there. It's about these soft skills, right? So I'm going to ask you in a second what they are, but I'm just going to read the headline that 93% of employers want to see soft skills on your resume. And here are 8 that we're going to share with you on the conversation today. Bob, what is a soft skill?
I wasn't prepared for that question.
And that's the fun of this.
I know what some soft skills are, but like in general, what is a soft skill? I think a soft skill would be something that they play a critical role in like who we want to hire, but a lot of times they don't come to the table until after we've hired that individual, and then we kind of luck out and we land these things. Let me give you a list of some of the ones we want to talk about today and kind of break down, right? So communication skills are a soft skill, right? It's not something that like, I can't necessarily test for that, right? I mean, maybe there's some tests out there, but it's not like I've got a certification in communication skills, right? Like I could have a certification in Excel or something. Customer service. Like, how do you quantify that, right? I think these skills, as we start to, they're hard to quantify would be one thing, right? It's like you don't have a score for them. You don't put a number on them. These are skills that all of us kind of acquire over, in many cases, a lifetime or a career, right? And some of these things are things we start learning and understanding, in childhood, but scheduling, time management skills, project management skills.
I was going to say, Bob, I think a few of these soft skills, the way to look at it is these are things that aren't necessarily taught in school as I quote unquote around it, right? I could take a class and learn how to be an Excel spreadsheet wizard. And there will be people looking for a certain job that you are skilled at Excel, and you could be tested on it. You can take a course in it. You could probably get certified in it, that sort of thing. These soft skills are kind of we would almost think them when in my generation, your generation, when we were younger, we almost called them fluffy, as the things you just put on your resume to kind of fill it and make it look good, that now these are actually things that they're specifically looking for.
Yeah. So project management, analytical thinking, the ability to work independently, and then flexibility. And I think, like, as I look at this list, and we'll talk about and kind of dig into each of these, these are things that, like, a lot of times come out either, the people's strengths in these things or their weaknesses in these things kind of come out after we've hired them, right? Like, or for us, so there's two sides to, I think, this discussion, Chad. There's a lot of people out here looking to hire individuals. And how do we kind of flush these out before we hire them to make sure they have these soft skills, given that 93% of employers are looking for these? I'd assume a lot of the people in our, in our community that may hire somebody are looking to have people that have these skills. On the flip side of it, then it's like, well, how do you kind of showcase these skills, or what are some ways that you can maybe even get these into your resume so that, if you're somebody that right now is looking to increase your income, and maybe that's because you're going to move to a different job, that your resume is kind of loaded with these things that a lot of employers are looking for.
All right. So Bob, and folks, if you haven't figured it out by now, if this is like your first episode that you listen to in the Win, Make, Give world, we do some planning. Maybe we do some research. Yet a lot of times Ben usually walks into the room and says, here's the topic. You got about 30 seconds. Let's figure it out and go, because it's a natural conversation. That's what I'm doing with Bob here today. I didn't really give Bob any heads up other than I sent him the link to this article and said, here's what we're recording today, Bob. You've got a very little bit of time to figure it out. So, Bob, I'm just going to pick one of these soft skills. I'm not going to go in any order because they're not in necessarily an order that they're out there, other than maybe, number of people that are asking you to have these skills. I'm just going to go. The last one I think I heard you mention was flexibility. What does that mean to you, flexibility, when it comes to building my resume, and how do I put it on there? What should I be able to do? Talk more about flexibility in this sense.
Wow. So to me, flexibility, and I have to look at this from the perspective of an employer. Like, why would I want to see flexibility in an individual, and how might that kind of showcase on a resume? So I'd want to see flexibility, especially in our world, because we are constantly pivoting, changing, and I need to know that I've got, employees that are okay with that, right? That aren't somebody that needs a really rigid day after day, I'm doing the same thing. Because in my world right now, like on my team, each week we've got a different focus, and I need people that can move along with that. Chad, it's a really great question. Like, how do you get flexibility to show up on your resume? This is probably one of the harder ones for me to think about. Like, what would I put on my resume necessarily that would showcase the fact that I'm a flexible individual? I could probably put that I work for Jonathan Washburn, who liked to change directions of the company every 15 minutes.
As long as people, and now you work with Ben Kinney, who probably changed directions even more than Jonathan.
Yeah, that are big thinkers, right? That are willing to, maybe showcasing the fact that I've worked inside of a couple of startups, right? And just by the nature of working in startups, you have to be this flexible individual that's willing to pivot on a dime. And that'd be a good way, right? If I had work experience that showcased kind of early stage environments in companies, because those tend to need a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. You know who else needs a lot of flexibility? Parents.
Yeah.
Right. So remember, folks, maybe you're a parent and you're building out a resume. Don't hesitate to list that. Now, we're not getting into discrimination or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. But boy, you got to know that if you've got little ones, you're probably someone who can be pretty flexible. Right? Now, flexible doesn't mean multitasking. It doesn't mean, well, Bob, I can do a whole bunch of things at once. We understand that multitasking truly is a lie. It's just the opportunity to screw up more things at once when you attempt to.
I can put on my resume, for example, I once changed a baby's diaper standing up in a airplane bathroom. Like, that's pretty flexible, right? When the baby poops on the airplane,
flexibility right there.
Yeah, you got to be able to change a diaper back in the I'm half kidding.
Yep. It's not listed on this list, but I would almost say it's problem solving. Right. And that's what being flexible really is, of saying I can juggle those different things and know I solve this one, I move on to that one, I get this one done, I move on to that one. And I don't necessarily have to go in a straight line. I can do the triathlon, right? I can run, I can swim, bike, run, not just be the marathoner that just runs all day.
I mean, look, problem solving to me comes under analytical thinking, which is one of the soft skills on this particular list, right? So
talk more about that. What is analytical thinking, Bob?
Look, to me, there's a real obvious line in the sand right here on analytical thinking, right? It's what would Google say, right? Yep. If I have people, then this happens, right? And I think a lot of us do this. We kind of fall into the lazy, man, there's somebody in my world that probably has an answer for this thing. And I go and I interrupt their day. But man, if you come to me, if you're on one of my teams and you come to me asking a question that I don't have the answer for, but I just go to Google to find the answer, like that, maybe I'm going to have a conversation with you about analytical thinking, right? About look, what would you do if I wasn't here, right? Look, and again, how this might be showcased on your resume, you could just say I'm an analytical thinker, and that's because of maybe the organization that I came up in, but I think that if I was the employer on the other side, I would try to make them prove it.
Yeah.
Right? So you might want to have here's an example. We took all this we have one of our business units where there's just a massive amount of data coming out of this. And my job was to find the 3 data points in there that clearly correlated to increased revenue, essentially. Right. And so that would be my showcase of analytical thinking. I took 785 data points and distilled it down to the 3 that actually, generated revenue at our company. And that was an exercise in analytical thinking.
Yeah, and here's a definition of analytical thinking. I just Googled while you were saying that, right? And it said analytical thinking is being able to identify and define problems, extract key information from data, and develop workable solutions for all problems identified. So exactly what you just talked about and doing. And Bob, how do I show it on my resume? Here's how I'm going to put it on my resume. I'm going to show failures, because one of the key things behind analytical thinking is truly being able to find the lesson learned in failures. And I want to have those conversations with someone if I'm applying for a job about, yep, I failed doing this, I failed doing that. here's what I learned and how I then progressed because of it. That's going to be something that's going to show analytical thinking when it comes to building a resume.
I love that, Chad. That's a great it's a great leverage of your mistakes in your career. That's good.
And what is every interviewer going to ask you at some point?
Yeah, tell me something you didn't do well, but what you learned from it, or something of that nature, right?
Right. That's their way of saying, does this person do analytical thinking? Are they in there paying attention and saying, hey, let me see what I can learn from that? What data can I take from that so that I can improve? Whether that literally means I'm looking at a bunch of numbers and pulling out those key points like you mentioned, or whether that means I'm taking that lesson and learning from it. All right, Bob, that's 2. Give me one. Which one do you want to talk about since you know the list?
I like customer service.
Sure.
And for me, I guess communication skills is a good one too. Let's do customer service first, and then maybe communication skills next. Okay. That if you've never worked in a customer service job, it becomes hard to maybe showcase that, right?
Is there really a job out there that's not customer service?
Good point.
I challenge you to find me one.
Good point. Yeah, I guess the person that made that blizzard for you was all about getting it right and making sure at the bottom there was good, that the toppings went all the way to the bottom. And so, yeah, I mean, good point, Chad.
Right? Even if you're saying, look, the guy who picks up my trash, okay, I'm still the customer. He's still coming to my house and doing this. And then even that guy who's just the accountant in the back room that never sees anybody, he still has a customer. Maybe his boss is his customer. Maybe he's doing numbers on behalf of someone he just never speaks to or presents to. Every job is customer service, I believe. Can you tell me about an experience?
Yeah, you're
Go ahead, Bob. What were you saying?
I was going to say, so on my resume, right? I would probably we implemented this wow one a day philosophy back at one of our previous companies, where our mantra really was to try to wow, not just try to deliver, the expected experience, right?
Yep.
But to try to wow somebody beyond the expected experience. And each person, look, we had a small company at that point. There was probably 10 of us, right? But we said, look, if each one of us can totally wow somebody, just one person each day. And this was Zappos philosophy is this, right? They built a massive business on this idea of wowing people, going beyond what's expected. But we just tried to wow one person every day. And the 10 of us did it for months and years, really. And we built, Chad, that business. We built this little cult following inside of that business that still, by the way, 12 or 15 years later, there's people that are really still dedicated to that business because of that idea of just wowing one person each day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, Bob, can you think of and I know you can you think of a customer service experience that was awesome? And can you think of a customer service experience that sucked?
Well, here, I order a lot of hats online. And
really? We didn't know.
There's, hundreds of hat shops that I could order my hats from online. And there's one in particular that is, if they send me a hat and the stitching on it's weird or it doesn't fit right, it's a free refund. I'm sorry, it's a free return, right? They don't charge all the other places. They charge me $3.95 to return the hat, right? It's a free return there. Look, they know that I'm going to buy a bunch of hats, right? They if the stitching's off multiple times, this company has just been I'll call them or I'll send them an email, right? Hey, you guys send me this hat. The patch on the side is kind of weird. It's off-centered. And they'll just be hey, can you shoot us a quick photo of that? I'll shoot them a quick photo and they'll be we just refunded your account. Sorry. And a lot of times these hats aren't there anymore for them to replace it even, right? They're sold out. And so, but multiple times they've refunded my money. It makes me go back to them, Chad. I have hundreds of locations I could go to buy that hat, right? That probably dropped in 20 of those stores. I go to Topper Z because they're the people that treat me right when something doesn't go right. And
nice plug, Bob. They should give you a free hat for that. I'm going to go huge. I'm going to go big because sometimes the bigger the company gets, the harder it is to do great customer service. I think Amazon's one of the best when it comes to it.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how many times something shows up and my wife's that's not the color I thought it was going to be. Click return. boom, and the money's in my account as soon as the barcode is scanned.
Half the time, Amazon doesn't even make you send the thing back.
Yeah, depending what it is.
Like,
Sometimes it's like refunded, fine, keep it, enjoy, right? That's customer service. It's not always just so we think it's not the waiter who's right there in front of you. Sometimes it's not that experience where it's only salesperson to salesperson. Your organization can create customer service. Bob, how do I list it on my resume? How do I get that stuff out there? This should be a pretty obvious one. How do I put that stuff so an employer asks me about it, engages, or sees that I do have this soft skill?
Maybe you would, if you'd worked at a company or an organization that had really awesome reviews, you could reference back. I led a team of success managers at a company that averaged 4.9 customer satisfaction. Something like that.
Yep.
Like I would, in my particular scenario, I might put our customer service, the wow one person a day philosophy that we adopted, but essentially I would try to get onto that resume, just one line probably about, that a role I'd played in an organization that had, great ratings or some kind of a philosophy. The reality is on a resume, like that thing's there to prompt somebody to ask you about it so that you can then detail, what our wow one person a day philosophy was, right? It's not to try to get them to understand on my resume, what that means.
Yeah, I'll tell you the two things that employers probably are looking at a resume for the most, Bob, do they really look at them anymore, right? Yet the two things that people are probably most looking for in a resume, one, they're looking for things to ask you about. Tell me more about that, like you're saying. So set them up for those opportunities to ask you the questions you want to be asked. The second thing they're looking for are gaps. Right? So that, I took 3 years to go travel Europe or something like that. Or, hey, COVID hit and I decided to quit working for 2 years during the Great Resignation. They're going to ask, what'd you do for these 2 years? Why is it blank? Right? So keep that in mind as you're building it. All right, Bob, you dropped another soft skill.
Here's real quick, Chad. Hold on real quick, because I've looked at a lot. We talked about this in the podcast. We went through a big hiring at our company, a really big one. Like we basically doubled the size, maybe even a little bit more of our company. And I looked at a lot of resumes, and definitely those two things you mentioned. The other thing I would often look for in resumes is something different from all the other friggin' resumes that I'd seen. Right. And I'll tell you that I did see a couple of people that listed these kind of soft skills, and they stick out like a sore thumb on a resume because most people don't.
In a good way. Sore thumb in a good way.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know when I'd ever have a sore thumb that I was like, that's awesome. I just banged my son. But yeah, they stuck out in a positive way off of those, you're married. I mean, you're talking looking at 50 resumes, like, anything that somebody does that's different than the other 48 is going to stick out. And I think just even having these soft skills and trying to address them was that for me, at least, right? I mean, your eyes start to glaze over when you're on your 35th resume you're reading today. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute. Here's somebody that took a different approach to trying to present themselves to us, as a great potential partner.
It's and half the time in many organizations, Bob, you wouldn't even be the person who even looked at the resumes. They'd be going through someone else that then narrowed them down and gave you then the 50. They had 500 that came in for the job opportunity. It makes me think of the movie Legally Blonde. I don't know if you've seen it and if our audience has seen it. When our main character, Elle, applies to Harvard Law School and her resume is scented, right? That's her personality. Her resume is scented. It definitely stands out. All right, Bob. So that brings us to the next soft skill. Soft skill number 4 on this list of 8. And you already hit that. You said it was communication skills. Talk to me. I mean, I think we all have an understanding what that means.
Sure. We all know what that means. I guess, how do you show, look, in another life, Chad, kind of my previous life right before this one, like this was right up my alley, right? Like we ran a platform where there was thousands of people blogging and sharpening their communication skills and improving their communication skills. Like I think that I really do think everybody should have some kind of a journal, online diary, blog. Like, not everybody's going to do that, but man, that's a great way to sharpen your communication skills. And especially if I was looking for a role that I knew that person was going to be communicating with my prospects, my customers, I'd want to see their communication skills. We hire a lot of virtual professionals in our world, Chad. People that are based offshore. outside the United States. A lot of those come from the Philippines. And, during those resume hunts, we're actually asking for writing samples, right? And there's some really good ones. Like some of our virtual professionals, they're better writers than I am, like in terms of proper English and all that stuff. But I'd want to see, and I'd want people to be able to showcase to me their written skills, especially, right? You can tend to, in an hour-long interview with somebody, kind of pick up how well of a verbal communicator they are. But a lot of what we do today, texts and emails, and especially depending on what job you're in, right? Like you're creating marketing or different things that have written skills involved. I'd want to see that. So for me, that'd be really easy. I had a blog for 5 years, and even though it hasn't been updated recently, like it's a pretty good showcase of what my written skills are. And it would be simply, hey, I'm a, I don't know, that's kind of weird. Putting a resume together, it's maybe why I never changed jobs. It's such a weird, right? Like I have to say something like I'm an exquisite communicator. Here's an example of my written communication skills, but to really be able to point to them and showcase them, I think is really important.
Bob, I think you make a great point. Somebody in an interview with you is going to learn whether you're a verbal communicator. The challenge is, can you show that you are a written strength as a communication skill as well? Because maybe the role requires a lot of email, or maybe the role requires, as you said, some marketing pieces, or maybe the role requires just communication. And a lot of it will be digital because it needs to be documented and can't be just something that's said over the phone or done in purpose.
And you're looking, like, we do this thing when we bring somebody into the office for an interview, we basically walk them through the building, and there's a very, specific path that they're walked through the building, and they're introduced to certain people specifically. And a lot of that is to kind of, to watch for those soft communication skills, right? How do they present themselves to other people? Are they confident and their shoulders back? Or are they like nervous and scared? And so I think communication skills even go slightly beyond just, how well do I speak and how well do I write? I think there's these nonverbal kind of communication cues that we try to look for when we bring an employee into the building. I don't know that you can showcase your nonverbal communication skills on a resume, but definitely during that first interview, we're looking for that on the employer side.
Yes, it's a great point, folks. If you're younger and you're saying, hey, I don't even have jobs to post on my resumes and building, if you were in the band, if you were in the arts in the school, okay, if maybe you were on student council, okay, these are all communications things that you're up in front of people, you're having to speak. Maybe again, you were an excellent writer, the winner of the essay contest or something that goes on your resume. For those of you who are looking for a new job or an additional job, think about what you did in your last job that shows off how well you communicated. And folks, I'm going to tell you, that means no typos on your resume, right? Because that speaks volumes to your written communication skills or lack thereof.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no question. These next couple, Chad,
I think 3 of them go together and they're the same thing. Yeah.
Scheduling, time management skills, and project management, were those the 3 that you would kind of bulk together?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, look, this is right. This is your wheelhouse, right? I've maybe as just from osmosis and being close to you for so many years now, I've gotten a lot better at this. But it's not easy for me. I still struggle a little bit with my schedule, and my virtual professional would tell you it's probably the thing she helps me with the most. But how do you showcase these things, Chad? Let's just kind of put these in a bulk, and maybe we'll kind of
no, I agree. I think they're just fancy words for the same thing. Scheduling and time management skills, I think, are absolutely the same thing, really. And then project management is just, instead of just, managing my time, project management is I'm managing you and your time as well within that. That's going to come down to jobs that you've had, and how can you show that they are things that require you to be able to keep a schedule. In the same way we started with flexibility, and Bob had said, how can you show that you're able to jump from A to B to C and all over the place? How can you also prove that you go from A to B to C, and that you're not all over the place from experience when it comes
I think it's like I take you, for example, right? If you were going out and you're like, forget all this stuff I've been doing, I'm going to find another job. Like you would basically just on your resume, just say, I have time management skills. Like the proof is in previous jobs, I've always had a very dedicated calendar that time block, all of the important factors or all of my top priorities. I mean, it's literally just saying it on the resume. So because the more I look at this, and I think like in different times in your world, different things are most important. Time management skills might be the most important thing in here.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I know you agree, right?
Of course.
You're
And I
that
got a whole
guy.
chapter on it in the book. We've done episodes on it in the past. Heck, I've done it on the 15-point plan. I've done it here. I've done it for you on other calls, right? There's an area at the bottom of a resume when you build a resume properly, folks, that says other skills. And that's where you're going to put some of these soft skills when you're like, look, I don't have a job that shows off that I know how to manage a calendar properly and stick to it. Other skills you're going to be listing, I have time management abilities or time management skills. Let them ask you about it. Show them how you've been able to control a calendar, how you're able to say no to things. These are powerful things to be able to have as we go through. We're not going to get into scheduling today. We have episodes on that for you if you're looking for it. Yet we want you to know it's a skill, whether it's self-management or a group you're managing.
I'm over here like kind of snickering to myself because like, look, my calendar today, I could showcase it. If I was on the hunt, try to find somebody better to partner with than Ben, I could go back and showcase to somebody like, here's what my day looks like. It's very regimented. It's very planned out. You can see, here's my time for my top priorities. And I could actually, but if I didn't have that calendar to go to, I could pull my wife's calendar up that runs our house, which isn't me technically, but you could see how we operate inside of our house from a time management perspective because we got 2 kids and we're running them all over the place. And so I think there's definitely ways to showcase, project time management or scheduling, even if it's not because my last job required that or I was more impactful in my last job because I did those things.
Yeah, you're right, Bob. And that leaves us with one soft skill. Okay. The one soft skill we haven't talked about is the ability to work independently. Now, why do you believe, Bob, this is such an important skill to employers right now?
Well, the remote thing is big, right? So a lot of us are, a lot of companies are willing now to look at, consider, bring in people that aren't right there in the city you do business in or that your office is in. So, I mean, I would bet if we go look back, 2 years from now, Chad, we go look back and, all of this data in terms of like came from ZipRecruiter and a study they'd done on the millions of resumes they see and the way that their community, inspects and goes after these resumes. I bet in 2 years, that one's even higher, right? In terms of like the number of resumes, because that's what this thing isn't an order, but it's based on like the number of resumes that we're looking or the number of job openings looking for those particular soft skills, right? And I'll bet in 2 years that ability to work independently is even higher.
And I'll bet you're right. And I'll bet if we went back to, or let's say 3 years, it's probably not one that anybody's even saying, except for a few jobs that you need the ability to, work independently. The only person I know that works, like my mailman, works independently, right? He drives around all day and puts the mail in the box. My UPS, those guys work almost nobody else I know worked independently or was looked at. You were always in an organization. Now, Bob, absolutely. I need to know that you can work independently. What would be some good ways to maybe feature this on a resume when you're putting it together?
Let me just look, maybe you've never done it and this is not a skill that you even choose to showcase, right? Like, I don't think we have to have all 8 of these skills and figure out how we get them on our resume, right? So, But if you've worked in a remote scenario, like we all worked at, like, not all of us, some of us, but the vast majority of us did work in a remote scenario from, March of 2020 to, whenever, maybe in your case, July. But there were months where, so I would just showcase the fact that I was productive still at my job during the time when COVID was there. And, that could be a way to showcase it. I think, I don't know. Do you have an idea? That's a tough one, I think, to like, what's the line on the resume that kind of highlights that? Again, beyond just the fact that I just state it. And when somebody asks me, well, why do you think that? I say, well, I spent 3 months locked in my house and my job got done. And, our company hit numbers that we've never hit before during that time.
Bob, I'm going to think it's going to be a lot of the opportunity as we're building our resume. A lot of people want to always show teamwork and teamwork and teamwork, right? I worked in this organization. I worked with this group. I led this team of people. Don't forget to feature the things you've done on your own, right? Don't forget to say, hey, yeah, I was the anchor on the relay team and I'm the 100-meter champ.
Yeah,
right. That means that's me on my own doing that stuff that showed success, right? It's not always a team. I want people who can be amazing on a team. Yet at the same time, I want those people that when the team needs to go their own directions, right? I think baseball, that's a team defensively. Offense, hey, it's hitter versus pitcher, right? It's one-on-one, mano-a-mano then.
I love that. I always, again, it's just, it's your perspective comes from where you sit, right? And I'm not sitting in a place right now where I'm out trying to land a better job or make more money, right? But I am sitting on the other side of it, which is we are hiring people. We're looking for talented individuals. And so a lot of this to me becomes like, what are you asking the people that you're hiring, right? Because I love what you said there. It's like, give me an example of a time when you thrived in a team environment and what your contribution was to the greater team. Next question, give me an example of something you did that was you. Like you took it from start to finish and you did something amazing without being involved in a team where you were out there kind of independently forced to be an analytical thinker and manage your own time so.
All right, Bob, here's the thing. 93% of employers want to see soft skills. And we just covered the 8. We just covered the 6.
Sure.
Right? The 6 most in-demand ones. Again, for all of you listening, that's flexibility, right? That's analytical thinking. That's customer service. That's communication skills. That's scheduling, time management, project management. And that's the ability to work independently. Bob, give me a final thought on soft skills, on resume building, on who was looking.
Yeah, this is only because we didn't really, we kind of group project management. Now, this won't be my final thought necessarily, but I was reading yesterday, because that's what we do, Chad, we read. I was reading about, so Google has this survey that you can do. And if you went and looked up Google Project Management Survey or something, it's basically, it's a free course, not even a survey, it's a course.
Okay.
You can get certified as a project manager, a Google project manager. The value of having that and then walking back to your job maybe and saying, hey, I've got this Google project certification, project management certification. Google actually uses that to go find project managers to hire. And in the article, it talked about they don't care if you have a degree. They don't even care if you graduated from high school. And Google's out there right now hiring people that have that kind of a brain, a project management brain, right? So if that's one of your soft skills and you wanted a job at Google, go find that course and do that course. And they are actually it's a free course. I think it's a really brilliant recruiting tactic for them, right? But it's this free course you can take to sharpen up your project management skills. And they sit on the other side of that and they're looking for people that they would make a job offer to at Google. So look, one of these soft skills is something specifically that probably one of the largest employers in our country is looking for right now. And they built a whole course around finding that soft skill because it's so important to their development business, right? Being able to manage large teams and groups of developers. So
Bob, I love this. I went to look at it while you're talking about it. It takes about just less than 6 months. Just so you know, they say about 10 hours a week. Enroll for free. And then right beside it, it says financial aid available. So I'm looking forward to getting the financial aid that comes along with a free enrollment opportunity here. But it is there. And Bob's absolutely right. I
guess I just want to drive home the point that these soft skills are being hunted right now by people like Google,
the
right?
Biggest employer out there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, I think any one of us could look at these things and envision times when we had people that we partnered with or worked with, or we were that person that was really good at these things, or there was some room to be desired. All of these are skills that if the people you hire or you are the person being hired, if you're missing one of these, it's going to get showcased at some point and you're either going to have to get better at that thing, right? Or it's going to be potentially a crutch that kind of keeps you from fulfilling your biggest potential at the job that you're doing.
All right. So folks, here at Win, Make, Give, Bob, Ben, and I, we work on our communication skills all the time and hope we're bringing that to you through each episode. We're challenging you and your communication skills. What does that mean? It means get involved in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/win, make, give, where we post about these conversations. We ask more questions. We engage in you about the different episodes. And we want to see your communication skills as you comment and engage in there. Make sure you join us there. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share these episodes with the people you know that need to hear them. We want you to subscribe because we don't want you to miss a single episode coming your way. Visit winmakegive.com/wealth. Get yourself signed up because Wealth 2.0 series coming sooner than you think. And until our next episode, as always, do good.